Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Today I'm very excited because I have the beautiful Fiona Minett who's come on to talk all about PR. Fiona is from Boss Your PR. If you follow her, you probably have already seen her stuff. But Fiona and I go way, way, way back, like way back. We actually went to primary school together, and I know there's a lot of American listeners on the podcast. So primary school is like ages 5 to 10 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, way back then, and then we kind of sort of went off on our own separate ways, different schools, and then we came back together through entrepreneurship. So it's been a really beautiful process. So Fiona, welcome onto the podcast.
Thank you so much, my lovely. Thank you for having me. And yeah, my goodness, that's we
It's
do
been
go
a
way back,
journey.
don't we? What a journey. And look where we
It-
are now.
yeah, exactly. So before like we dive into PR, like who it's for and everything, could you tell us a bit about your story, your journey into how you've got to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, where do I start? Where do I start? So yeah, I essentially fell into PR about 15 years ago. I'd studied a history of art degree and thought I'd go into galleries and art curation and that kind of stuff. Fell into PR, doing a bit of work experience, and it just felt like a fit. And as a natural introvert, like I would never have paired myself with an industry like PR, but it felt like home to me. It felt like a natural fit. And I worked in agency, I worked in house, I worked in PR for about a year, maybe a little over a year. And then I guess, the naivety of youth, the sort of gung ho element really kicked in. And I sort of said to myself, well, do you know what? I'm going to go freelance. Actually, no, I'm not going to go freelance. I'm going to set up an agency and I'm going to build something, and I am going to learn what I don't know already. I'm going to learn it on the job, and I'm just going to do things my way. And so I was about 24 when I set up my PR agency, which I ran for about 6 years. And we kind of did everything. We did all sorts. We put product on Lady Gaga. We got brands into the Brit Awards. We did the British Fashion Awards. We did all sorts, and it was all about putting small businesses and startups into the spaces in the media that they never thought would be possible for them. So essentially helping them punch above their weight in all different aspects. So I had a beautiful team, and gosh, it's really is a life story. Sorry, I'll hurry on. Had a beautiful team, and I ended up sort of stepping back from that when I was pregnant with my daughter. And for various reasons, I had about a year and a half off at that point. And when I got back into PR, I knew it was PR that I had to get back into, but I didn't want to go back to that typical agency model, because whilst we were a boutique agency, she says in air quotes, uh,
Mhm.
i.e., we weren't charging the huge rates that London agencies were having to, it was still, that retainer model was still prohibitive to some businesses. It's still a big outlay month on month to be on a retainer with a PR agency. So I wanted to find a different way of doing it. And this was back in 2017, tail end of 2017, that I started thinking about how can I share what is up in my brain in terms of expertise, experience, and value. How can I share it with an entrepreneurial audience that thinks PR is out of reach for them? And how can I prove to them that it's really not? So I started doing local workshops. I started doing a lot of networking, a lot of talking and networking events, and then kind of moved into online courses and that kind of stuff. And that really developed into something that I literally would never thought I would be able to sit here and say, I'm a PR expert and coach, and that is my job.
Yeah.
And my job is to talk to people about PR and to empower people. And yeah, so now I run online courses, group programs. I am hopefully launching a sort of a mastermind next year. I do a lot of work one to one, and I work with companies like BBC Studios, Domestica, Small Business Saturday, to essentially like media train, to share the PR word, to really kind of inspire people in all sorts of different areas and business sectors and all sorts of
Amazing.
jazz. So yeah, in a slightly larger nutshell,
Oh,
that's me.
no, it's been amazing. And I think it's making that transition from kind of doing the stuff to then supporting. It's
Mm,
weird, isn't it? Like, I think the coaching space has become so big now, and there are so many different forms of coaching. But actually, when you go into that route, initially to go from the doing to just the kind of talking to people,
Yeah.
it's a lot of mindset work that has to be done as well, isn't it? Because you feel like, but I need to be doing the thing for them. Otherwise, how is it then worth their money to work with me?
That is so spot on in terms of this kind of progression that you go through. For me, it felt like a huge kind of educational shift. I was really trying to teach people a totally different perception, because there
Yeah,
was really, DIY PR was in its infancy. The PR agency was kind of, yeah, the PR industry was sort of pushing back and saying, gosh, no, you can't be sharing this intel with anyone. This is our IP. This is why they pay us to do the job.
yeah,
And equally, you've got then companies and clients and entrepreneurs and businesses saying, oh no, I couldn't do my own PR, like I need to pay someone to do that, that's expertise. But there's me in the middle going, but it is possible. But equally, there's me going, how do they get the results if I'm not doing it for them? So
yeah,
it's this like massive bridge that you have to build in terms of saying, how can I make my knowledge so actionable and so impactful in the way that I share it, that PR isn't rocket science. It is totally doable by anyone to varying degrees. You can absolutely get PR success with a kind of, with an ease, with an efficiency, but it's building that infrastructure that allows me to give people what they need to know in order to take action, but also for me to censor myself in a way that I'm
yeah,
not giving them an abundance of knowledge that they don't need. They don't
yeah,
need to understand the inner workings of the PR industry or of these sort of different areas. And it's factoring in that need to know, but it's also the education piece that says you can do it yourself. And I
yeah,
fully believe that you as a business owner are the best person to do your own PR, because who knows your story better than you? Who knows your expertise better than you? Who knows your assets better than you? So yeah, there is a real kind of shift. And like you say, that coaching space has opened up massively.
yeah,
And I think anything is coachable. And I think with PR particularly, there's a phrase, it's PR, not ER, in the sense that this is not, this is game changing stuff for a business, but it's not kind of it's not critical that you have, a seasoned professional doing
yeah,
it for you. it's
yeah.
it's totally doable, and it should be totally accessible.
Exactly. And I think as entrepreneurs, like we're quite hungry for the information to learn how to do all the different things. Maybe not to the extent that like we're absolutely incredible at it, but to just even understand the process so that if we have teams, if we have VAs or something, that they can then support with these things. Or if we get to a point where like actually I've tried doing this, I've experienced it, I understand the process, but actually I do want to invest in someone doing it for me. But as entrepreneurs, we do want to know, we kind of want to know all these different things, don't we? And like have a go at doing it ourselves.
We do, and I think that's the best way to do it. Even if you see yourself outsourcing something in the longer term, or even kind of relatively imminently, let's say in 6 to 12 months, email, newsletters or email marketing, for example, or your social media content. You want to know what works for you. You want to be able
Yeah,
to understand it in order, one, to be able to outsource it, but two, to be able to understand whether it is being done effectively. So,
exactly.
if I can achieve X, then I want someone who is coming in as a professional to achieve this and more. So
Yeah,
you're able to set the parameters for yourself. And I always think, yes, DIY PR is not, the only solution, and it's not necessarily, not necessarily always the best solution as you scale, as your business takes different demands, and you evolve within your business in new ways. But having an understanding of how the process works when it comes to outsourcing to an agency or to a freelancer, you are not blind. Then you're going into something aware of the process, aware of how it should be working, aware of what should be working for you and what has proved fruitful for you previously. And that's intel then that gives you the best grounding in any relationship that you build in terms of outsourcing. So I
yeah.
think in every aspect of your business, I think it's important
Oh my
to
God,
have
definitely.
that understanding.
Yeah, definitely. So if anyone that's listening to this that has never had any form of press exposure or anything in the past that's thinking, I love the idea of being in a magazine or a paper or even a blog or something, but I feel like I don't like have a good enough story to share or I don't know what to share. Because I think that's something that definitely comes up with people when you're so focused in the one thing that you do. PR actually isn't always about what it is that you're doing. It could be such a broad thing, and it is about really helping you to grow your brand. So, what would you say to someone that is in that position of like, I just don't even know where to start with it? Like, what would be your first tip for them?
I think there's two ways to approach this. Is one, oh, what is PR? I don't understand it. I don't know how to approach it. I can't possibly begin to get started. Most people are already doing an aspect of their own PR. And, if we see PR, public relations, all it is communication. So if you are communicating with your audience, with your ideal client, target audience, target customer, via social media, or if you're sending a newsletter, or you are out networking, you're showing up in some way, you are doing your own PR. So actually anything else, in terms of getting into the media or guest blogging, guest writing, getting onto podcasts, is an extension of something that you are probably already doing. Okay, so it doesn't need to be intimidating. But I think also on that other point, in terms of, I hear it so often, oh, I don't have a story, I don't know why anyone would be interested, why is a journalist going to be interested in me? And I think it's because, one, we're very self-deprecating, we're like, oh, gosh, no, oh no, no one would
Yeah.
want to hear my story, no one would want to hear me talking. And we do that, and we kind of dismiss our value, we dismiss what actually are intrinsic PR assets to, to us and to our business. Everyone has a story, everyone has a story, everyone has multiple stories. Whether that is that you can tell a story around your expertise, you can tell a personal story of overcoming hurdles, you can talk about a career shift, what was the catalyst moment that got you into entrepreneurship, what are, maybe FAQs can give some grounding as to kind of stories that you can tell, or value that you can share with the media. So I think it's looking at your business objectively and getting someone else to help you do that, whether it's just someone that you trust, and you might say, what do you think is interesting about my expertise or about my story? And using those as starting points and getting used to telling them. So whether you start telling them on social media, whether you start telling them to your mailing list, whether you then take a slightly broader approach and start thinking, okay, who do I know that has a podcast? I.e., Jacquie has a podcast. Who do I know that has a brilliant blog on their platform, and they might want to interview me, or that I can share some expertise as a guest article? Am I networking enough? Is there a networking event that I can maybe offer to speak at, and share a bit of my value? You can take these tiny little baby steps kind of within the familiar surrounds of your entrepreneurial community or your entrepreneurial network, and start to look for these opportunities. And I think once you can objectively say, yeah, do you know what? I have value to share. I have expertise to share. I have a story to share. I can help people by sharing some of this value. Then it becomes a kind of, you are more open to the opportunities that present themselves for you to start sharing that. And this, Jacquie, right? The kind of the power of momentum is, the
Yeah.
more you put yourself out there, the more you start saying yes to things, the more approaches you make, the further you go in doing the best for yourself and your business. It's like something shifts,
Yeah,
and the world
definitely.
goes, yeah, okay, we can see that you're ready for this. Let's throw opportunities to you. And sometimes the best opportunities that have come to me, that have come to clients, have come as a result of them building that momentum, doing what is within their control. And then sometimes the biggest things land when you are absolutely not expecting it. How do they even know about
Yeah.
me? They knew about you because you started showing up in a different way. And that
Yeah.
momentum has built to doors opening that you didn't even knock on. That's the kind of
Absolutely.
magic of it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really like shining your own light, isn't it? And it's actually really understanding that the reason that you are different to anyone else in your niche is because of you. It's because of your own personal journey, like how you deliver your content, like how you show up. And I always say it's like when you go to a party and you're automatically, or even a networking event, you're drawn to certain people, but there's also going to be people in the room that you're like, they don't really feel like my kind of vibe. And that's kind of what you want. You want to be showing up as who you are so you can attract people that are aligned to you. And PR is no different. It's literally just sharing your story in the same way that you would do normally. That said, though, is there a way to write an article? Like if you're writing your very first article, do you need to kind of tone down your language, or is it about just being totally authentically you and finding the right place to pitch it to?
I think there's a combination of things. I think obviously, like I always say, much like you were saying, if you go into a networking space, it's like your vibe attracts your tribe. But I think, I always say it's okay to be a bit Marmite. like, you know, some people will love that, some people will hate that, but then it's that self-selection, right? Is that you attract the people that you are meant to attract, and you're not bothered by those that you're not their cup of tea. That's absolutely fine. And I think that takes, you know, it takes a bit of time to get
Yeah.
to that stage. You know, we've been in entrepreneurship for quite a while, and you know, you get to the stage where yeah, okay, I'm comfortable saying that. Not everyone's going to like
Yeah.
me. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And I think when you start sort of pitching to the media, there's a couple of approaches. There's, you don't want to pen yourself in too much, in the sense that you may still find resonance with the readership of Real Business, for example, that there's still going to be an element of your tribe there, but you might have to not necessarily alter your tone of voice, but you may have to write to fit in with a structure or a kind of, you know, overall brand voice for that platform. I think that's okay. And I think, you know, if we go too niche, we risk not reaching our full potential in
Yeah.
terms of our audience. But equally, there will be spaces, whether it's brand new or the home worker or whatever it might be, where you can write more in your style and you have that freedom to write more in your style. Um, and it's kind of maybe getting that balance of both. And I think it's just having a mindfulness, just having an awareness that we don't have to squeeze ourselves to fit into a certain box, but there are certain doors that will still open opportunity, even if we have to slightly rein our kind of vibe in order to get that opportunity, because who knows who is seeing that.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of thing is, you will get people, and I'm not advocating, you know, Vogue, for example, Fashion Bible. I'm not advocating a kids wear company tries to put themselves in Vogue, or you know, just if there is not a match, then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But equally, there is something to be said for having a breadth of media exposure in a way that is relevant and in a way that does speak to your vibe in whatever way is possible. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
like, don't shut it down, but you know, be led by where you think your audience could be.
Yeah, definitely. So, how could somebody like yourself help somebody if they're like, right, okay, I want to write my first article, I want to get into a magazine, a feature, like, how can you help them with that very first step?
So I think everyone's first step will be different. Okay, so some people will just want to build the confidence to speak about their business in a different way. Some people will have very specific ideas. I want to be featured in Red, or I want a guest article on Forbes, or you know, I want a column in my local paper. Your starting points may be very, very different, but the process of getting you to those goals is the same. It's working on those foundational elements. What is your value? Then how do we share it? It's working on that pitch process. Is, you know, my 3 point pitch framework is, let's look at these elements that a great pitch needs, and let's work it out so that it is fully applicable to you, and it is, you know, kind of flexible to what you need to be communicating. And then it's, where are we communicating that? So like you said, some people will have very specific titles in mind. Okay, what is our aim with that title? What angle are they going to need? For those that have a kind of a broader idea of where they want to sit or what they want to be doing, is okay, well, X, Y, and Z titles are going to be a fit for you, so how do we speak to those? So it's taking those starting points that can be very different, can be very varied, but it's kind of applying those PR processes in a very bespoke way. So typically I will work with clients one-to-one, or I run a signature group program, which is a kind of a 10-week incubator, where we look at your PR messaging. You know, what assets have you got? What value have you got? What are you wanting to share? And then we look at building the toolkit and the strategic framework that will allow you to share those things. And my mission with whoever I work with, whatever their PR goals are, is to give them that framework that allows them to rinse and repeat this activity.
Yeah.
So it's not one and done. It's not, oh, I've pitched to this and I've got this opportunity and great, that's all I wanted. Is no, why don't we expand that out? If that worked, who else could we pitch it to? If that pitch works, then how can we rework it to share this element of your story or this element of your expertise? So it's having those frameworks and structures in place to rinse and repeat, to allow you to essentially endlessly build that PR success for your business.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be like you're taking on a full-time job as your own PR manager. No, 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 no. Yeah, we're all busy. We're all busy ladies. I want it to be easy. I want it to have ease. I want it to feel effortless. I want it to feel just expansively doable. And the structures and the frameworks is what allows it to be so. Like you'd have systems in any
Yeah,
aspect of your business. This is
exactly.
building your PR system to allow this to be a little bit autopilot for you.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And I love that you can then repurpose a piece of content that's worked really well. Not obviously copy and paste, because obviously I'm assuming most people will want the exclusivity of that particular article. But to then think that's worked really well, I'm actually going to reword it, or maybe, like you say, take a different angle of it and pitch it to someone else. You're not having to start from scratch with every single piece.
I hate starting from scratch. That blank page syndrome. Like, oh my God, blank page. What do I fill it with? No, we use starting points. So you might have a piece of social media content that has worked really, really well for you. You might have a mail out that has worked really well for you, or a blog post that has been really high performing. Let's rework that as a base and pitch that. If that works as a guest article for someone else, okay, can we take a slightly different angle on it and pitch it somewhere else? But equally, if you're writing something for the media, okay, how do we break that down and repurpose that into content for your other channels? So the thing is, you are building content for so many different areas of your business and your visibility, right? Creating content for your website, for your blog, for your social, for your emails. Why don't we just layer in PR with that and have this content working for you on that many more different levels?
Yeah.
So yeah, I am not a fan of blank page. Nah, no, we
We
don't
all
do
have it, like even with social media content, there are
that.
days, even those, like I create content all the time and I love it, but there's still days where I'm like, what am I going to write about? Like, I
Yes,
literally just had this mental block. I just don't, it's nothing's
yeah.
flowing.
And you do get those phases, and I think it's really easy to hit that wall. And we hit that wall quite frequently, relatively frequently, I'm sure, with social media. But equally, social media is easy for us to then pick up on. So
Yeah,
we go maybe if even if we go a week or two without posting anything, we get the divine inspiration, and then oh hey, we're back at it again because it's familiar to us, it's safe to us, it's comfortable. Okay, we know what is expected of social media. But the danger is if you hit that block too early in your PR learning or your PR journey, or even at any point in your PR journey, where you go, actually, I am coming up blank. I'm coming up short. I don't know what to pitch. I don't know where I am. I'm a little bit lost. Because it is not as ingrained in your business and your process and your day to day as social media is, it's really difficult then to get that flow back.
yeah,
PR becomes one thing you go, oh gosh, I can't get my head around it. So it falls by the wayside. But then you're not tapping into all of that value. You're
yeah,
not able to, amp up your business by having it seen in the places where it needs to be seen by the people you need to be talking to. You're not getting that brand awareness. You're not getting your wording and your mission and your messaging to the hundreds of thousands of people that could be picking up those magazines. So its impact is markedly different to social media, but social media is our comfort zone.
yeah,
Even if we hit a little block every now and then, we go, oh yeah,
yeah,
I'll step over that next week.
yeah.
But PR, it's riskier to allow yourself to hit that blank page, to hit that
Yeah,
block.
definitely. And I think with PR, I mean, I guess it's got a fairly short span because obviously, particularly if it's a magazine or a newspaper, it's been out and then it's kind of gone, but it's always something you can use to say that you've been featured in, which I think having that like on your website in your content is really good. And if you're someone that wants to get into like speaking opportunities, it's a really good accolade to have on there to say you've been featured in XYZ to show that you are like an authentic, like next level brand that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, I've totally lost my train of thought or where I was going with this, but
That's okay. I,
basically,
I can I can pick up from where you said, like
let's just go with it. There's no editing
let's
involved
go
in
with
this
it.
podcast.
No, it's all good. But I think you're right. I think there is it is about that credibility. Okay, it is about credibility. It is about kudos. It is money
Yeah,
can't buy stuff, and ultimately getting in the magazines, getting on the stages, getting onto podcasts. It's free. It doesn't need to cost anything. So it is
yeah,
literally like money can't buy. You've got to create that opportunity, and you've got to show why you deserve it. By sharing your value and sharing your brilliance. And because it isn't like advertising, you can't go in and pay to secure the space. It is kudos, it is credibility, it is something that people see very differently. And I think as consumers, whether we are consuming B2B services, whether we are consuming B2C services or product, we're like magpies, right? We're drawn to things like that. We look for those differentiators, we look for those markers that
Yeah,
say this person can be trusted, this person looks really credible, this person looks really good at what they do. And having those logos, having those features, once in Forbes, always in Forbes, you can always say as seen in Forbes, as featured by Psychologies, whatever. You can reuse that reference again and again. It can sit on your website until the end
yeah,
of time. You can chat about it on social media over and over again. It's not going anywhere, but there is obviously stuff that you can do to leverage in the moment. For some people, it seems, or it can feel like, oh, I've got the win. Okay, great. Oh, tick. I've reached the 200,000 readers of Psychologies magazine. Great, but that's not it. That's not
yeah,
the only value that you get. Yes, you get that initial hit, you get that initial impact of the readership, of that kind of circulation. But then you also get the value of being able to use that logo. You get the value that you can then leverage to your audience to say, oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled to bits that I'm
yeah,
featured in Forbes. I am, celebrating by doing an offer on my services. So you incentivize your audience to buy into you and your credibility, to
yeah,
celebrate you. You bring yourself an uptick in sales in addition to the value of the piece of coverage. And that kind of stuff you can continue doing. You can
yeah.
leverage every piece of coverage as it comes through, but you will never lose that credibility and kudos from having those references in your back pocket.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of the people that are listening to this are in that point of wanting to scale. They are looking to do things like speaking. So if you ever were to see somebody announcing they're going to be doing this event, and you think that would be amazing for me to speak at, how amazing is that opportunity for you to then repurpose? Oh, I was featured in XYZ, have those
Yeah,
conversations. Like it just happens to be at the same time. So it's really helping you to then reuse that. And I think people rely so heavily on social media, and it is amazing. It works really well. You can make a lot of money just from having social media, but it is like very short-lived, like for the majority of your content on there. And it's one of those things that you have to keep on top of. And if you've not had something go viral within a couple of days, like it's kind of just dead and gone, and you're on to the next one. Whereas PR, like you say, it's something that will last forever, that you've got that
yeah,
logo to say I was featured in. Like that's so much more powerful than a post that you might have spent 2 hours on that's
yes,
kind of not really performed for you.
massively. And I think this is what it comes down to, is our default is to spend time on our social media
Yeah,
because that's what we are conditioned to do.
yeah,
This is incredible for businesses that we have social media and we can use it in all these ways. And it is great. But sometimes we aren't able to maximize it because there are bigger forces than us determining who sees what content. But what we can control is where we are pitching our story to and
yeah,
giving ourselves broader exposure. And once you open some of those PR doors, there is the knock-on effect, like you say. You can bag yourself a space on stage with that credibility that you've built in media coverage previously. You can open doors as a result of being able to name drop a bit of media coverage. Like there is so much power in it, and it all kind of combines to create this kind of fullness around your brand that
yeah,
starts to elevate you above your peers. Like it's again, that magpie effect is what is the differentiator. It is that credibility, it is that kind of innate sense that we get as an audience that says, oh yeah, they must know their stuff to be featured in
yeah.
this title. So I think there is a real power around it. It is about opening more doors. And you know what, it really is also about you being able to access the success that you and your business deserve. And
Love that.
there's some things that just feel so difficult in business, like, oh, it's so hard to get noticed, or it's so hard to build a strong client base, or it's so hard to build up to 10,000 followers or whatever we want to achieve on social media. But we can only get so far working intensely hard for our business. We need to get to the point where our business works hard for us, i.e., your website, you need to be SEOing it so that your website continues to bring you traffic. You want your social media to be doing a job for you, but we can't control how many people see our content,
Yeah,
really, can we?
yeah,
But to be able to tap into something like PR, that once you do the legwork, once you build that momentum, this kind of stuff will repay you again and again and again, because you've opened the doors, things start happening. The momentum builds, opportunities start coming to you, the media start coming to you, so that actually the amount of outreach you have to do really decreases, because you're on lists.
Yeah.
You are on lists for the media to get in touch with you. And I think this also is one thing that it comes down to, if you want to benchmark and compare, is you can put a lot of effort into a social media post, a carousel or a reel or whatever, and we can't guarantee that it gets seen. What is the kind of byproduct of that is frustration, resentment, disappointment. Yes, we can go again with that content, but if it's not landed the first time, what's to say it's going to land a
Yeah.
second time and get a better reach? There's no kind of value in that. Whereas if you were to pitch to the media, you might send one email to a magazine, or same email to 5 different titles. You lose nothing. The email's not taking you long because you've used a simple framework to do it. That has potentially opened 5 doors.
Yeah.
Now, even if something doesn't come back to you straight away, journalists keep things on file. They might pass it internally. They might just be waiting for the right time to come back to you. What you've done is you've put your name in new rooms. You've put yourself top of inbox. You have put that out into the world, that I'm ready for this visibility, and I am doing what I can within my control to make it happen. So if you think about it, would you rather spend 5-10 minutes on a piece of content that potentially no one sees, or 5-10 minutes whapping out this email, so that goodness knows the kind of opportunity that could come back to you? But
Yeah.
there's nothing lost. You
Yeah.
don't lose anything by sending that email. You get in front of people. So I think there's different ways to think about it, and social media can work exceptionally well. And I would never advocate doing one at the sort of at the exclusion of the other. But I don't want everyone putting all their eggs in the Instagram
Yeah.
basket,
Yeah, you've got
because
no control over it as well. And I think like you hear of so many people whose accounts just get completely
yes,
closed and they have to start again. But actually, if you've already got that backup of, well, I've already been featured in these incredible places, like I've already got my amazing community, I'm already on other platforms and I've got my amazing mailing list. It's all good. Like
yeah,
even if you lost a load of followers, obviously it'd be a bit frustrating, but you
yeah,
can start again. You're not putting everything into that one platform and basically putting like your entire business model into it
yes.
essentially.
I mean, if you had money to invest, you would want to diversify your investment portfolio. The same goes for your visibility, and there's only so far that you can scale. If you want to scale to success, you need to scale your visibility.
Yeah.
And there is only so far you can scale your visibility on one platform in isolation. You scale your visibility through breadth, through speaking to people in different ways. Like that kind of age-old marketing thing, it used to be the case of you need someone to kind of you need a potential customer or potential client to see or interact with your business up to 7 times before they'll purchase. I mean, we are so saturated now. It
Yeah.
has to be that someone is seeing your business in different places way more than 7 times. So if we're constantly beating them on Instagram, but we're not coming at them from any kind of real breadth,
Yeah.
then they're only seeing one kind of messaging. They're only seeing one facet of what we have to offer. But we want them listening to us on a podcast. We want them coming across us at an event. We want them, meeting us at a networking event. We want them reading an article that we've contributed to. We want that breadth. That's how we really kind of change the game and elevate ourselves in our industry to that kind of different status. We all look up to people in
Yeah.
our respective industries, and quite often you say, well, what sets them apart? Well, they're really on it with their messaging. Yes, they're really on it with their content, but actually quite often they will be representing themselves across the media as well.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that we see as a marker of success, as a differentiator, as that credibility stamp that says, yes, okay, that's the good stuff. But equally, on the same notion, and yes, I will stop talking in a minute, I don't get carried away. On the same notion is, we see that and we go, that can't be me, because I'm not expert enough, or I've not been doing this long enough, or they're just better than me. There will always be someone better than me. I don't know how to open that door. Let's put that to bed. Let us put that to bed, because this is one of my favorite things to say. There is a U-shaped space in the media. There is space for you, for every single one of you, to step into the media to share your value. And you know what? The media needs you, not the other way around. The journalists need you to help them do their job. The
Yeah,
media needs you to help fuel that content cycle. So if you are not putting yourself forward, someone else is.
yeah,
And you will sit there and you will see that opportunity to go to someone else and you go, oh, that's a shame. I could have done it better. Or, like, actually, that could have been, yes, it could have been you. Okay. And all it comes down to is making that approach,
yeah.
is putting yourself in those places. Because if you're not, someone else is. And I'm not having that. I'm not having that, babes.
It's so, and everybody has a story. Like you might think you don't, but you do. There will be something that can be tapped into that would be absolute gold for someone else, even if it's just to feel seen and heard. Like so many of us think, oh, but I can't because I'm not the expert or I haven't achieved this, that, and the other. But actually, there'll be something that you have achieved that is something that right now there's somebody out there that needs to read that article that is
Yeah.
going through what you went through that needs to just hear that. And yeah,
Yes.
it's so
Everyone
powerful
needs
just sharing our story.
representation
Yeah,
of all different, walks of life, of all different stages of business.
yeah.
And if you can be that for someone, if you can share, everyone has value to share.
Yeah.
Everyone has insight. If you have an offer to sell or a story to tell, then PR is for you. PR is for you at any stage.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. I'm definitely doing more PR next year. Like that's one of my goals for 2025. So we're definitely gonna have to have a chat after this. Um,
Absolutely.
Fiona, how can everybody get in touch with you? How can they work with you if they want to join any of your programs to support with like their PR getting into some press?
Yes, absolutely. So I am Boss Your PR everywhere, Boss Your PR on Instagram, and I am running my signature group program, which is Boss Your PR Strategy, my 10-week program that gives you all the need to know and has you building your own strategy and has you actioning it through the duration of the program. So actually 95+% of people that take part in the program have got coverage either live or in the pipeline by the end of that 10 weeks. So it's a really kind of high impact game changer for your business. That runs currently twice a year. I'm hoping to start actioning it 3 times a year, but our next cohort is enrolling currently for a February start. So if you are ready, right, like Jacquie is, to really blitz that PR this year, well, next year, 2025, then that might be the one for you. But
Amazing.
equally, I'm always open to chat. Slide into my DMs. You're always welcome.
Yeah, do send a DM to both of us, Fiona and myself. Let us know what you've thought of this podcast. If you've had any golden nuggets, any light bulb moments, or anything that you would just love to share that you've really enjoyed about this episode, let us know. We're always open to any feedback. That'd be really good. And if you've really enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and comment with your feedback. That would be amazing. But thank you so much for coming on today, Fiona. It's been lovely having you on the podcast.
Oh, it's been so much fun. Thank you, gorgeous. Could chat all day.
Yay! Thank you so much. Speak to you in another episode, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to unlock the secrets of building your own personal brand, head over to my website, baileyandrue.com, where you can grab my free Brand Brilliance Blueprint today. It's your roadmap to success in the world of branding. And hey, let's stay connected beyond the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at baileyandrue for daily inspiration, behind the scenes insights, and exclusive content to fuel your brand journey. See you there.